good morning, good morning. This is the Vermont Attorney General Forum. We have H. Brooke Page, me, Cris Ericson, and T.J. Donovan, represented by some sort of mannequin puppet creatures. And good morning, good morning. Now, today we're going to talk about why we're on the ballot and what our issues and positions are. And we have H. Brooke Page, represented by this mannequin puppet, and we have T.J. Donovan, represented by this mannequin puppet, and I'm Cris Ericson, real and live. Now, let's get started. First, we want to do a quick review of what happened in the primary election. Oh boy. Well, I almost won for the position on the ballot for governor for the Progressive Party. And it looked like on election day that I had won, but then a few days after election day, Jim Condos, the Secretary of State, found some more ballots, which put the situation in question, and there may have had to have been a recount, which would be very expensive for the state. Now, then, a week after the election, Jim Condos found some more ballots and said that David Zuckerman won. H. Brooke Page is filing a lawsuit in court. He's very busy writing it, and he is not happy with mail-in ballots. He's opposed to the whole mail-in ballot thing, particularly since new ones can be found after the election. Now, T.J. Donovan has not spoken to me about the matter. In fact, T.J. Donovan isn't even speaking to me as far as I can tell. We'll see if we can get a peep out of him today. Now, here's the problem. I complained to Vermont Secretary of State Jim Condos that it seemed very, very funny that after the election, he should be able to pull out of the rabbit's hat some more ballots for David Zuckerman. And then a week after the election, he pulled a few more ballots out of the hat for David Zuckerman and said, David Zuckerman wins. Well, what we're talking about is a total, I think, of fewer than 20 votes, putting him ahead of me, which were found after the election. Very strange. So again, H. Brooke Page is very busy writing his brief about his complaints about mail-in ballots. I think he's trying to get some kind of injunctive relief or something to put a stop to some of the things that possibly Secretary of State Jim Condos is doing. Now keep in mind, Jim Condos is a Democrat, T.J. Donovan is a Democrat, and David Zuckerman is a Democrat. Now here's my problem. When I complained to Secretary of State Jim Condos that I thought this was a bunch of malarkey, hanky-panky nonsense going on in Montpelier, I may have even called them the Montpelier Mafia. Oh boy, whatever I called them, Jim Condos wasn't happy. And he sent me an email and said, I'm not allowed to communicate with him or anyone in his office anymore. Well, I'm a political candidate. I have to continue to communicate with his office because I am still on the ballot. I did win some other positions in the primary election, including Attorney General, so I still have to communicate with his office. Now, here's the problem. Because Jim Condos sent me an email saying, oh, I'm not allowed to communicate with him or anyone in his office anymore, who gave him that legal advice? My guess is T.J. Donovan, whose job it is as the current Attorney General to give legal advice to and legal opinions to the current incumbent elected officials. So it would be T.J. Donovan's job to tell Jim Condos to send me an email saying, he's not going to communicate with me anymore. So I don't know how much we're going to get out of TJ Donovan today. This is all very strange. It's very, very strange. And this whole thing about the vote counts, the write-in ballots, it is an issue in other states. People have actually been convicted in other states of these bogus write-in ballots. All kinds of things happen. And there are a long list of ways to cheat on the write-in ballots. So coming up with fewer than 20 votes for David Zuckerman to defeat me in the primary couldn't be that difficult if you read all about the cases in the other states and how easy it is to cheat on the write-in ballots. Now, I won in the primary election for 5 offices, including for Attorney General, which is why I wanted to have this Attorney General forum today. Even though H. Brooke Page keeps telling me how busy he is, he's busy, busy, busy. He's writing that brief to complain about write-in ballots. And TJ Donovan is probably scared to talk to me. So they're represented today by mannequins. All right, now, I'm on the ballot for Lieutenant Governor, for Treasurer, for Auditor of Accounts, for Secretary of State, and for Attorney General. And I hope you vote for me for all those offices. H. Brooke Page has this brilliant idea that if you win more than one state office, you can collect more than one paycheck. What a riot. I could go for that. Home repair time. Okay, now, I want to scold Black Lives Matter. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. Now, TJ Donovan has apparently, according to Brooke Page says that TJ Donovan has not spoken up to defend the police in any way or to proactively say the police should be in charge when it comes to protests. H. Brooke Page is in favor of the police. He's in favor of the police having control of the protest. TJ Donovan apparently hasn't spoken up on the issue, so H. Brooke Page thinks TJ Donovan is negligent in not speaking up on the issue of the police should have control of these protests. My attitude is this: what are you doing out in the streets protesting for when you could get on the ballot? I'm on the ballot for 5 offices. How did I win 5 offices for the Progressive Party ballot? Because no one ran against me. All the Black Lives Matter people were out protesting. Instead of calling up the Secretary of State Elections Division and saying, how do I get on the ballot? How's that done? Or visiting the Secretary of State Elections Division website where they give you all the information on how to get on the ballot. And even if you can't afford Wi-Fi and you can't afford broadband and you don't have a home computer, can you get to the public library? You could get to the public library and look on the Secretary of State Elections Division website and learn how to get on the ballot. Sure, there's a few forms. Ask the librarian to help you print them out. Bring your quarters. She may charge you 25 cents a page. Okay, so all those Black Lives Matter people parading around and protesting, but not getting on the ballot. What sense is that? What common sense is that? I won 5 offices for the Progressive Party ballot because no one challenged me. Nobody challenged me. Nobody ran against me for the Progressive Party ballot positions of Secretary of State, Treasurer, Auditor of Accounts, Attorney General, and Lieutenant Governor. I mean, I'm on the ballot for 5 offices because nobody ran against me in the Progressive Party because they were all out waving their signs and shouting and protesting. And what good does that do them now? They could be on the ballot and speaking up in an affirmative, constructive way rather than just parading around with their protest signs. So I say, shame on Black Lives Matter. Get your act together and get on the ballot. You got 2 years now. 2 years until the next election. You get off your lazy butts and get to the library and get on the election ballot. Now, let's see. The next thing I want to talk about is injustice, the rich versus the poor. Now, H. Brooke Page speaks out on his website that he thinks T.J. Donovan is just interested in lawsuits that bring money into the coffers of the state of Vermont. H. Brooke Page thinks that T.J. Donovan is not concerned about the welfare of the people. So, on that subject, the welfare of the people, let me tell you, there is a huge difference between rich and poor. If University of Vermont or some state college wants funding, they just stick their hands out and the state legislature fills it with millions and millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. Do you know how much money the president of University of Vermont is paid? I think it's more than the president of the United States of America. It's an outrage. It's crazy. These nonprofits, colleges and universities sticking their hands out for the public tax dollars that you paid for. You're the public taxpayer. You paid for these tax dollars, and they're being given out by the millions to these organizations. But if you apply for food stamps, Medicaid, fuel assistance, guess what? If you're applying for any of these programs, any of the children's and families programs, you have to fill out like 18 pages of forms, and you have to sign under penalty of perjury. They're threatening to put you in prison under penalty of perjury that you have filled out the form correctly and stated your financial assets correctly. So if you fill out a food stamp form or a fuel assistance form or a Medicaid form or aid to families with children, then you have to list all your assets. You have to list the value of your home, the value of your car, and your bank accounts. And you have to list every single bank account you have. And then you have to sign a form saying, under penalty of perjury, that this is correct. This is the difference between rich and poor. Poor people are threatened with prison if they don't fill out a form correctly stating all of their assets. But when University of Vermont or some nonprofit or some other college wants money, they get millions and millions of dollars of your state tax dollars. Millions and millions of them. And they don't have to fill out a form stating all of their bank accounts and all of their assets. You have no idea how big an endowment fund University of Vermont has. How big is their endowment fund? Well, we don't know. They could have billions of dollars in all kinds of offshore bank accounts in the Cayman Islands, in Swiss bank accounts in Switzerland, where they conceal the identity of the owner of the account. So there's a huge discrepancy between rich and poor. Poor people are treated like criminals from square one. You're treated like a criminal and told you're going to go to prison if you don't fill out this form right, and we want to know your bank account number and everything else about you, and if you don't fill out this form correctly, you can't have your food stamps, you're going to go to prison instead. Under the penalty of perjury, you have to sign these forms. But when University of Vermont or some other nonprofit wants money, the money comes raining down in millions to them. Why don't they have to fill out a food stamp form? Why doesn't University of Vermont have to reveal all of their bank accounts, all of their assets, all of their foreign bank accounts, and all of their endowment funds when they ask for taxpayer dollars? And that goes for all of the other nonprofits. Now, another difference between the rich and poor is that some of the nonprofits are promoting some of the political candidates. Now, they're doing this under color of authority with your money. some of the nonprofits receive taxpayer dollars, and then they use some of them use some of the taxpayer dollars to promote some of the candidates. They may have a candidate forum, and they may exclude some of the candidates while inviting other candidates. When they exclude any candidate who appears on the general election ballot, then they are acting as a political action committee. So when they received the taxpayer dollars, when the nonprofit received taxpayer dollars, and then they used the taxpayer dollars to act as a political action committee to promote some candidates while discouraging voters from voting for other candidates by not inviting them, then I call that fraud. I call that fraud because you can't use taxpayer dollars for a political action committee. The state treasurer has got to go. The state treasurer has got to go, which is another reason I'm running for state treasurer, but this is the Attorney General Forum. Okay, let's talk about out-of-state private for-profit prisons. Oh boy. Hundreds of Vermonters every year are sent to out-of-state private for-profit prisons. Now, H. Brooke Page will tell you that T.J. Donovan doesn't have the interest of Vermonters. Well, I would agree with that. Now, T.J. Donovan, as the current Attorney General, is supposed to advise elected officials and appointed officials, which would include the Department of Corrections. But he has failed and is negligent in his duty to advise them that it is a violation of the Vermont State Constitution to send prisoners out of state. It is a violation. T.J. Donovan, in my opinion, is negligent of his duty to inform the governor, other elected officials, the Department of Corrections. I believe T.J. Donovan is negligent in his duty to inform them that sending prisoners to out-of-state private for-profit prisons is a violation of the Vermont State Constitution. The Vermont State Constitution says the prisoners shall work for the public in view of the public. Well, you can't be in view of the Vermont public if you're in an out-of-state private for-profit prison. Furthermore, there's all kinds of problems with the out-of-state private for-profit prisons. Vermonters don't belong there. And then I think there's a little sneaky stuff going on in the treasurer's office. Again, I'm also running for treasurer. They're telling you that it's more cost-effective and saves money to send prisoners out of state. Well, I asked a few people a few questions. They're talking about price per bed. Price per bed. As far as I can tell, they're not telling you that it takes a couple of correction officers to board a jet with the prisoner and fly to these out-of-state locations. And that costs money. And they're not telling you about the cost of motels for the correction officers. They're not telling you about the cost of rental cars for the correction officers. They're not telling you about the cost of meals for correction officers. So I don't think they're adding up all the expenses when they're telling you that it is more cost effective to send people out of state. I say, bull, what a bunch of nonsense. And I say T.J. Donovan is negligent in his duty to warn and inform Vermonters that it's a violation of the Constitution to send people to out-of-state private for-profit prisons. Now, in the 1960s and early 1970s in Vermont, what happened was prisoners were sent to farms. So, if a farmer said, I need some help and I can't afford to pay for help on the farm, but I can give a prisoner a place to sleep and meals, then the Vermont farmer would get a bunch of prisoners, maybe a half a dozen or more per farm, and the farmer didn't have to pay them, but the farmer gave them a place to sleep, a decent place to sleep, and meals, 3 meals a day. And the prisoners were happy with that, and the farmer was happy with that. What happened? Some political action committee from a foreign country apparently, it seems, decided that they would rather have foreigners working on farms in Vermont. So you get these out-of-country, out-of-state, out-of-country foreigners, political action committees, and they push the idea that it should be foreigners working on farms in Vermont. So now, instead of having prisoners go to work on farms, we have all of these out-of-state illegal aliens on farms. And we're sending prisoners to out-of-state private for-profit prisons. That makes no financial sense at all. None. No financial sense at all. Okay, let's talk about marijuana. H. Brooke Page, right on his website, says marijuana should be legal. I agree with him. T.J. Donovan on his website says marijuana should be decriminalized. Oh wow, there's a big difference between decriminalization and legalization. I agree with H. Brooke Page. Marijuana should be legal. Now right now in Vermont we have this funny little law that says, oh, you can have so many plants. Well, what are the police going to do? Come in your home with guns and count your plants? Do the police come in your home with guns and count how many cans of beer you have? Do the police come in your home and go in your wine cellar and count how many bottles of wine you have? What is this bogus law that says you can have so many plants? That's entrapment. That's entrapment. It's just a way for the police to come banging on your door or sneak and peek and slither into your home and count your plants. That's ridiculous. 624,000 Vermonters. Let's have the police go sneak into their home and count their plants. Well, again, T.J. Donovan is the current Attorney General. Therefore, it's his duty to educate and inform Vermont legislators that this is unconstitutional. This is totally and completely unconstitutional. It's a form of entrapment. It's a form of invasion of privacy. You're supposed to have privacy in your home, not police sneaking in counting the number of plants you have. So the Attorney General's duty is to give advice to the elected officials, including the state legislature and all the other elected officials and appointed officials. It is the duty of the Attorney General to give them legal advice and legal opinions. And T.J. Donovan has failed to warn and inform them that this idiot law saying you can have so many plants is a violation of privacy in your home. You have a right to privacy in your home, not to have the police sneaking in on a sneaky warrant and coming into your home and saying, oh, there's one too many plants. Let's put this person in prison and send them out of state to a private for-profit prison. It's just wrong. It's completely wrong. I believe that marijuana should be like tomatoes or anything else. Grow what you want. Use them for your own personal use as long as you're an adult, and that's it. Just like lawn grass or tomatoes. Now, let's talk about the Vermont Prescription Drug Monitoring Plan. The Vermont Prescription Drug Monitoring Plan was passed in 2004. I believe it has caused far more harm than good. Now, under the Vermont Prescription Drug Monitoring Plan, the medical doctor acts as a policeman. The medical doctor says, you can't have your prescription for herpes medicine or whatever unless you sign a contract saying you agree to be drug tested for illegal drugs. And if you say to the doctor, I don't take illegal drugs and I need the herpes prescription medicine, the doctor says, I don't care, because under the prescription drug monitoring plan, you're in too much pain with your herpes and you need a pain pill for your herpes, and I'm going to prescribe you one pain pill, and you're going to sign the prescription drug monitoring plan, or you can't have the pain pill. Okay, well, if you get so much as one pain pill, then you're on a list for 6 years. For 6 years, you're on the prescription drug monitoring plan list. And the police can hound you and stalk you and make all kinds of false accusations. I looked up one case on the Vermont Medical Board Actions website, and on the Vermont Medical Board Actions website, they had one case where one person had a prescription amount of ibuprofen, and that person was accused of taking it across their one pill over to New Hampshire and selling it. That's what they were accused of. Well, you could go to Walmart and get a whole big old container of ibuprofen and take 4 of them at once, and that would be the same amount. So why is the state wasting time and money persecuting people? A woman sent me a letter. I did meet with this woman in person a couple times, and she complained that she had cancer. She had stage 4 cancer, and she was a businesswoman, and she'd never committed a crime in her life, but the medical doctor said, you have to sign this prescription drug monitoring plan to be drug tested for illegal drugs. That's what the prescription drug monitoring plan is. It drug tests people for illegal drugs. Your doctor is acting like a policeman. Your doctor has no legal authority to charge you with a crime. When your doctor says you have to sign this so I can drug test you for illegal drugs, that is essentially charging you with a crime. Your medical doctor has no right to charge you with a crime. This is an outrage. So this woman tells me she's never committed a crime in her life. She's a business owner. She's got stage 4 cancer, and the doctor wants to drug test her for illegal drugs, or he won't give her a pain pill for her cancer. She died. She died. Okay, so TJ Donovan has not done his duty to educate the Vermont legislature and the governor and the medical board that the prescription drug monitoring plan is unconstitutional. It is totally and completely unconstitutional for your medical doctor to be the judge, the jury, the executioner, the prosecutor. Your medical doctor, when he tells you you have to sign a form for this prescription drug monitoring plan to be drug tested, he's accusing you, or she, your doctor, is accusing you. They are accusing you, and they have no legal right to accuse you. None whatsoever. You are innocent until proven guilty. But with the prescription drug monitoring plan, you're guilty, and your doctor says you're guilty until you take that test and prove you're innocent. And then next month, they're going to do it again. They probably get or might get some kickbacks from the drug testing industry. In the state of Massachusetts, it was found out that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drug tests were fraudulently altered. Hundreds of people ended up in prison, and then they had to be let out of prison because of fraudulently altered drug tests. Now again, when your doctor says you have to take this test, your doctor's making an accusation. Your doctor's saying you're guilty until you're proven innocent. You're guilty of taking a whole long list of illegal drugs until you take the test and prove you're innocent. That's unconstitutional. You're innocent until proven guilty. Your doctor has no private right of action to charge you with a crime. These are outrageous abuses, and TJ Donovan has nothing. He has done nothing to tell the state legislature and the governor that that law is unconstitutional. So, I would like to end this forum now. My name is Cris Ericson. I'm running for Vermont Attorney General, and this is H. Brooke Page, and he's running for Vermont Attorney General. He and I agree on a lot of issues. I'm a little bit more liberal than him. I am on the Progressive Party ballot. He is on the Republican Party ballot. And this is TJ Donovan, and we disagree with everything. He's not even talking to me. All right, thank you very much for listening. Here we go. This is the Vermont Attorney General Forum with TJ Donovan, Cris Ericson, and H. Brooke Page. Again, this is the Vermont Attorney General Forum. Thank you for listening. I hope you vote for one of us. Get out and vote.